won't none! You don't want none!
What's going on, Tar Heel Nation? It is your favorite North Carolinian, Ross the Tar Heel. And in this huddle, baby, we're going to talk about the redheaded stepchild of college football. No, I'm not talking about NC State. I'm talking about the often neglected third of the game that coaches often disregard and players make excuses of why they can't and don't want to play. I'm talking about special teams, and I can say from my own anecdotal evidence, when I used to play football, and I did play on the punt team, I was a punt returner, I was a kick returner, I was on the kickoff team. Guess what? It's not the same as playing safety or being in the slot, etc., etc., etc. But Coach Mack Brown recently did say in his presser that his priorities heading into training camp were to, one, figure out why we haven't finished well and fix it. And the other thing is special teams. We've been average to really good to poor, and we've got to be better in those areas. End quote. Well, finishing is for another day. Special teams, let's get into it. Now, Carolina's 2023 special team stat include the kickoff return. They averaged 18.36 yards per kickoff return. The opponent's average kickoff return was 25.53. Chris Collifer led the team with 5 returns for 105 yards with an average of 21 yards per kick return. Tyshawn Chapman and George Pettaway are both gone. So Caleb Hood is the only really other guy that had any significant amount of returns last year. So it'll be interesting to see if one of those younger receivers can pick up the mantle. Punt return, 12.67 yards per punt return. The opponent's 10.75 yards. Alijah Huzzie led the team with 7 punt returns for 112 yards. He averaged 16 punt return yards per return with a touchdown. If you guys remember at Pitt, Heinz Stadium, or whatever the heck that stinking stadium is called now, Huzzie took one to the house. So you like what you have there in Alijah Huzzie. You hope that he stays healthy. Behind him, you're probably looking at either like a Paul Billups or Nate McCollum. They might be the next guy in line, but even Nate only had 1 return, and it was for -1 yards last year. So it may be something where if something, God forbid, were to happen to Elijah, Carolina is just looking for someone that can consistently catch the punt. The Heels actually averaged 12.7 per return as a team, which was 13th nationally and the best in the Atlantic Coast Conference. So, have no quarrels with Alijah Huzzie obviously returning probably as North Carolina's punt returner. Now, the punt average, this is a topic of discussion here. 37.58 yards per punt. Opponents, 44.35 yards per punt. Carolina's punt net average, 34.38 yards per punt. Now, this is where the topic gets a little juicy, okay? Tom is Carolina's junior punter. His stats in 2023, 33 punts, 39.8 yards per punt with a long of 57, and he had a net of 36.7 yards per punt. We need that number to at least be over 40. Carolina's got to be able to flip the field, man. And that's not to put all the blame on Tom, although he's shanked a couple. Every time it seems he gets a snap, he's rugby styling it, and it's like just pure, absolute pandemonium drama until the ball leaves his stinking foot, and sometimes afterwards. The Gunners have got to get down there. They got to cover. And for the love of all things holy, can we get some upbacks that can hold the stinking line? Last year, bro, it felt like Tom, he'd roll out to the right. He's rugby styling it into a blitzing defender. And as opposed to the upbacks attacking their guy, They just let them run right through them, and then they block or come close to blocking the punt way too stinking often, man. It literally should never happen, especially if there's a clean snap. Good night. We have got to get that fixed. I, for one, was slightly perturbed that the Heels didn't go after the kid from Indian Trails, North Carolina, in the portal from Notre Dame, man. I mean, it is that important that Carolina has the ability to stink and flip the field, man. And I'm guessing that maybe Mac Brown, and Larry Porter, who was the returning special teams coach, believe that, Tom is the guy, and he's going to have a better year because, they just weren't going to have two punters on scholarship. Now, moving on to the field goal team, field goal attempts and makes 22 out of 24. I'll take that all stinking day, bro. Opponents 18 for 23. Noah Burnette, right? You got to like what you got there, bro. I don't have any issues with Noah. He did very well last year when we called on him, and you got to be able to put those 3 points on the board. Now, on the flip side of that, okay, onside kicks. Carolina was 0 for 1. 0 for 1. But they gave up 2 out of 3. Unacceptable, bro. When people can recover their own stinking onside kick 67% of the time, that's not good. Can't have that, bro. Those guys up top 10 yards from the stinking ball have got to be better suited, and waiting for that stinking ball, man. There's just no excuse, bro. You got to recover an onside kick. Good night, right? And then 0 for 1 yourself, yikes. So we can see that there is a lot of room for improvement here, and the Heels need to take this part of the game extremely serious for the duration of this season because Carolina may end up in some games where field position comes at a premium. I mean, you really got to ask yourself, man, who knows exactly what we're going to get from this offense in 2024? Who knows? So until we find that out, we have got to be able to pin teams deep, and we've got to be able to flip the field if the offense is taking a little bit of time to get going, man. So you let me know what you are looking for this year from this North Carolina special teams in year 6 of Coach Mac Brown and Larry Porter in another year of special teams and running backs. I personally think that's an interesting, dual assignment, if you will. If you haven't already, please go check out my segment, The Tar Heel Talk with Russ the Tar Heel. We just did our first episode, and got a little rowdy in there, man. Got a little rowdy in there. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I love you, fam. And we'll catch you on the next one, Tar Heel Nation.
I'm a Tar Heel!